Hey everyone, Cynthia here with the Nameless Homestead, and today we're doing something a little bit different. We're hanging out at my computer desk today, and you might be wondering why. Well, quite a few weeks back, I finally caved and got myself an Ancestry DNA kit. Yes, it's one of those, the typical YouTuber video where I go over my Ancestry DNA results. But I promise you it's a little more interesting than just that. I have been wanting to get an Ancestry or 23andMe DNA kit for a long time, like years, but I've never actually had the courage to go out and do it. This is because doing it could reveal some interesting secrets about my past. If you've only been following me on YouTube and you haven't been hanging out with me over on Facebook or Instagram, you might not know this, but I have kind of a complicated past and a complicated childhood. But just to kind of give you a general synopsis, I don't have contact with my biological parents. Basically kind of an orphan at this point, and have been for a long time. It's been more than a decade since I've had any meaningful contact with them. So it's not exactly like I could go asking the burning questions. And the burning question is my father really my father? Because the circumstances around the story of my conception and birth is pretty suspect, quite frankly. I mean, honestly, what newborn in the 1980s comes home like a day or two after being born by emergency cesarean section at a supposedly 6 to 8 weeks premature? I used to work in human birth. That's suspect. So needless to say, I've had a very tenuous grasp on family and who my family is or where we come from. I've been told that if my father is my father, that we are mostly Scottish with a bit of pretty much every other Western European country, Swedish, Dutch, Irish, English, all that good stuff. And I do know that other people on both sides of my family, my mother's and my father's side, have also done specifically ancestry tests. So that's why I chose to go with Ancestry.com, because this is kind of like skirting around having to actually ask the hard questions to the extended family that I actually know and care about, and break my grandparents' hearts if I start questioning whether or not I'm actually related to them. So thankfully, Ancestry can hopefully come in and shed some light on that situation. And here's where I have to tell the truth and say I already peaked. I was in my hope when I started to come up with this idea, I was gonna try to get my live reaction, but frankly, I got the information through a link in text on my phone at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I had to hit the button and I couldn't wait to set up the camera. So I already know the results, and I would love to go through it with you guys because the results really truly are not what I expected them to be. So let me pull up Ancestry.com on the screen and we'll go over the results. My DNA results summary. So the first thing that we're going to be going over is my ethnicity estimate, which does not add up to our family stories, that's for sure. So first things first, you will notice on this map that when we scroll in, not only were the stories wrong, but they were way wrong. If the stories were right, this whole area up here should be absolutely lit up. I do not have a drop of Scottish blood in my body, and I was led to believe that from both sides of my mother and my father's side of the family, we were like mostly Scottish. I've been told my whole life that the Scottish hair that makes me look like Hagrid off Harry Potter if I don't spend like 3 hours flat ironing it or slathering it in coconut oil was a Scottish thing. My fair skin and freckles were a Scottish thing. Blah, 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 blah. Nope, not a drop of Scottish blood in this girl. What there is though, interestingly enough, is almost 30% Norwegian. That's a lot. And very specifically, Western Norway, a little tiny subsect of it. And then even within that tiny subsect of Western Norway, the three regions they refer to are, and I'm gonna butcher this, if I have any Swedish fans by some chance, do help me with the pronunciations. Leikanger, Sogndal, and Belstrand is what I'm thinking these pronunciations are. So almost solidly a third Norwegian, with 54% England and Northwestern Europe, which interestingly enough actually backs up the maternal story on my side of the family of thus having maybe a good bit French in our blood. My maternal great-grandmother always used to talk about how we have so much French in our blood, and everyone called poo-poo on her because she always told these silly stories. This actually backs up more her claim and completely refutes the claim on my father's side of the family of how much Scottish we are. So this area will include places like the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, France, England, Wales, United Kingdom. It doesn't include Ireland. That's actually its own separate space. The remaining portion, the percentages of my heritage are 6% Welsh, 6% Irish, 5% France, and 2% Swedish. This gives me more questions than answers at this point. What the heck am I? Oh my freaking gosh, who even am I? This completely flies in the face of all that I understand my heritage to be. And there's one thing very specifically that I found that confused me even more when I started going into actually looking up the ancestral records. I looked up, and I'll see if I can put this like as a screenshot or somewhere on here if I can re-find it. My great-grandfather's father was listed as a Scotsman on my great-grandfather's birth certificate. Yeah, they noted that for whatever reason. I guess they were a little more oddly specific back in the 1800s. Regardless, why does that man's birth certificate say he is Scottish and I don't have a drop of Scottish blood? It's the weirdest thing. Now, what about my matches? That's really the thing that will tell me whether or not I'm actually biologically related to my biological father. And my family, y'all, got around. I have so many godforsaken matches. I'm talking this scroll bar keeps reproducing. There must be hundreds of matches when it comes to all manner of first, second, and third cousins. Out of the first cousins, which would be the closest matches and is categorized as close family by Ancestry, we ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 matches. And the extended family just goes on for miles. And I was able to go in and right off the top find a first cousin on my father's side of the family. So congratulations, Dad. It's a girl. For sure and confirmed, we are biologically related. And I am glad for that. There is part of me that has this inkling in the back of my head, especially with the way my biological parents are and the people that they couldn't be for me, that everybody wishes they could have and have from their parents. Part of me did kind of have this inkling of hope of maybe I would find some family drama and then I would get like a new, more capable and daddy-ish daddy out of it. And now, thanks to this, I can actually go through and build a connection more with my family, even though the closest people I'm related to are hundreds of miles away. At least there's something. And speaking of that, this is really cool. I was able to connect with someone here on Ancestry, and that someone turned out to be a second cousin once removed. So she is the child of one of my great aunts on my father's side. This cousin was actually going to be coming into town where I live the week that I got into contact with her. And because I got into contact with her, she was able to tell me so much cool information about my family, like how they are poets and musicians and all that sort of stuff, and that my great-grandfather also played the fiddle like I do. She was able to stop by and I was able to meet her as well as one of my great uncles and give him a tour of the homestead. And she brought me my great-grandfather's old fiddle sheet music. How cool is this? This actually has his handwritten notes from when he was learning how to play the fiddle. She also brought me so many really precious photos. Here's another book of sheet music. This is like, I'm terrified to touch it, but I super want to learn all the songs that he played. And she brought me so many cool pictures. And on top of that, if it wasn't good enough, hopefully very soon, I'm actually going to have live audio recordings of my great-grandfather playing his fiddle music and my great-grandmother singing along with. This is so special to me because the lore around these people is just so incredible. They also were homesteaders, much bigger homesteaders than I was. They actually had a homestead where they were bailing water from a creek every day just for drinking water. And so I'm really excited to be learning more about these amazing, interesting people and actually have a piece of history and a piece of my family with me. I know I'm probably nerding out and rambling at this point, and hopefully any of you guys are even still watching. But for me, this is exciting and this is important because I do have such a tenuous, loose grasp on family and my roots and where I came from. And as a person who has started over with her husband and are recreating family from the ground up, that's hard. It's exhausting. Being able to look back on your past and have a hand to hold on to through time and space is reassuring. It anchors you to the world. So being able to research this and learn more about where I come from is really exciting for me. I'm looking forward to diving in deeper and learning more about the people that I'm connected to. And hopefully I'll be releasing more information in the future as it comes in, because as you can imagine, it's a very long process. What I'm hoping for, if I'm super lucky, when I get those audio recordings of my great-grandfather's fiddle music, is that I might be able to take those recordings and actually work them into my YouTube videos. Maybe remake my intro again and put his fiddle music in as the intro to all of our videos. So fingers crossed I can get a hold of that soon. I don't know when it's going to be possible. They're all in super old cassette tapes, so it's going to take time and expense to get all of that put together. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me as I go over my Ancestry DNA results. I find stuff like this so much fun. I've watched a lot of these videos on YouTube myself from other creators. If you've had a DNA test that came out with some interesting results, I would love to hear those stories in the comments below, or over on Facebook, Instagram, or any of the other social media places you can find us. Links are in the description box below as always. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. See you all next week.